It's a trade hub. Someone already put that significant re-exports, right? What is re-export? Okay. Someone is importing exactly the same thing and they are exporting the same thing. So how do they benefit by doing this? Can someone given you think of why that someone would do that? How do they benefit by re-exporting? Or what is the sense of doing that? Importing the same thing and exporting higher markup. Okay. Same product you are importing, same product you are exporting. No custom duty for re-exporting, trading amount difference, higher incentives, maybe title change. Now look, like how we have for people, we kind of decide that, and this is typical, like, if I give you an example, trade agreements, very good. So I'll give you an example that, let's assume a husband and wife, both of them are not talking to each other. And then they use the child as the messenger, go say this, go say this. Okay. So connected, how is this connected? So there can be countries which have sanctions on other countries. Okay, they're not dealing with the other countries. Okay, but they can be dealing with someone who is in a re-export zone. Okay, I don't know how workable this is for a country, but the way will be that the sanctioned country will trade with Dubai through a trade agreement, and then Dubai will export or deal with the other country also through a trade agreement. Okay, and they will give the benefit of tariffs to the people who are buying as a re-export. Okay, which is why people will be tempted that we're going to source it or we're going to buy it from Dubai. And of course there will be a markup on how they are getting it and how they are selling it. So that's basically how. So it's like, it's a place which kind of has become a bazaar where people are buying and reselling. If China is the factory of the world, then Dubai can be called the bazaar of the world. So it's like, a trading up in a lot of different cases. Logistics, we saw it is located very strategically in a gulf, in a sea coast, near a sea coast area. So shipping hub, it's an hub for, like, shipping. Follow me, we will come to what is the role of the lawyer. Okay. And for lawyers or law students, since we have a large part of them here, unless we understand what the business of a company is about, and I will believe many people here will agree, unless you take the effort to understand what the business of the company is about, unless you take effort to understand what difficulties a founder or an entrepreneur is facing, okay, you will not be able to get into the shoes of the client and be able to give really good advice. Okay, you have to understand what it is that the business is looking for. You have to understand how it is placed, how they are working, what they are going to get. Okay, so it is not possible that you work in a zone where some work is given to you and you just complete it. Okay, you have to understand what is the objective sought from that work. You're going to advise someone on an international entry or an entry into another market. You have to understand what it is that they are looking for by doing that, what it is that that market offers. Otherwise you are not going to be able to advise them comprehensively. Okay, so that is something that we need to focus on. So it's a logistics hub. It's a shipping hub. This is the business advantages that Dubai offers. There are pro-business regulations. They run the country like an ink. So, if you look at how you are going to put an entity up in Dubai and make it running and operational, uh, there are chances. For example, I will show you DIFC here, and I have in fact that listed in fact as one of the benefits. There is someone raising your hand. I can unmute you. What is it about? No. you put down. So Vivek, hi Vivek, you'll need to unmute yourself to speak. Vivek, you will need to unmute yourself to speak. It's okay. I would like you guys to be interactive. You can kind of speak what you want. You can share your views, of course. Or you did it accidentally. Okay. So Dubai International Financial Center is what I wanted to show you guys. And I'm going to stop the screenshot here again. So see, this is the website of the DIFC. Just share. This is the DIFC website. Now, if you're going to go into the zone of how you operate a business in DIFC, how are you going to run in DIFC, you will see that all these different entities, okay, registrar of companies, registrar of security, economic substance regulations, reporting standards, workplace savings plans, insolvency practitioners, auditors, okay, registrar of real estate property, real properties, government services. All of this is inside the DIFC. Okay, they have everything clubbed for you together at one place. Okay, if you were looking to do this kind of thing in India, think of that. Okay, MCA is at one place. You're going to have to work with them separately. It's not like everything is clubbed in one free zone and you can get all of those facilities or all of those approvals. Even if you are making application, you do not have everything available at one place. Okay, but in DIFC that is the case. Not only that, it has its separate laws. Okay, so having some entities in DIFC, it can become very easy for them to operate because they get everything at one place. Okay, now you think of India, you will have the tax department at a different place, labor department at a different place. Okay, your PF, your ESIC at a different place, your company registrations at a different place, your GST registration will be in a completely different place. So it is so many different entities with whom you have to interact and you have to go and ask approvals separately. Here you have everything at once. Although you will have to apply, it's not like you can't do without it, but everything is in one place where you can get everything sorted. Plus, there are very explicit handbooks available to you, which are very clear guides on whom you need to approach for what. It's a question. Yeah. Okay. Alok. So, operating in the DIFC is you can have all of the things available at one particular point, which can make things really smooth for you. There is a focus on technology now. If you look at how the way or the manner in which the Dubai government is kind of progressing, there is a focus. There are many incubators, accelerators, everything that is set up. They have sandboxes, which means you are allowed to try and test your products in a in a restricted environment, not to impact the market. So that is also something that is happening. And someone said this, right? High number of skilled workforces. 88% of the migrants of the country's population is migrants. Now, why is it good for India? Around 30% of the population is Indian. So you have a good deal of people there who probably share a similar cultural mindset. It can become an extended consumer base for an Indian business model. It can also be a smooth cultural fit. And then people are willing to spend. Okay, people are willing to pay something for a premium product. Okay, in here you can have people asking you 10 questions about the price of your product, but here people will be willing to spend. So like this, they are used to spending on Western prices because the market is so diverse. They have access to a lot of different products from different places. They are used to spend on Western prices. So the Indian businesses can hike up their price a little bit from what they are providing in India. Which are the sectors receiving a high amount of foreign investment? This may not be too relevant for someone who is expanding, but this is just to give you an idea of what can be working, because investors won't bet their money on sectors which are not really working. So traditionally, there used to be real estate, hospitality, bullion, and commodity trading. And now you have the bullion and commodities trading is still there. You have finance, insurance, technology, all of these sectors.